David, CI 11 Evolution. It's been a long time. Out here, we're gonna have a blackout stream. Nothing, I don't feel like showing nothing right now. It's been a minute, haven't uploaded in years. It's been a long journey. I've had some things to deal with personally. We're gonna get back to making content as soon as possible. I'm out here enjoying a little midnight walk. I had some things that I have to get off my chest. I made topics on bioanthropology, genetics, social issues, debunking white nationalists, pseudoscience, things of that nature. Well, I'm gonna tell you this, in a few months, we're gonna have this channel back up and running, and we're going to do various topics, some that are hip hop related, rap related, music related, social related, could be politics. I want a whole range of different topics and different discussions, different things we can talk about that are not just, related to Africa, related to, African American studies. Obviously, I'm well rooted in that type of, discussion. I want to have those discussions as much as possible. But this particular stream has something to do with the Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef and What's the Dirt's recent video, Family Matters. Now, I was a pretty big fan of What's the Dirt's Euphoria breakdown. I was a fan of a 616 in LA breakdown. And yes, I must admit, I am a Kendrick Lamar fan. I also didn't really have a horse in this race the moment the beef actually started, because I was also a fan of Drake. If you've seen a lot of my older videos, you know that I used a lot of instrumentals from both artists. I've actually used more instrumentals for Drake than I have for Kendrick, but I was a huge fan of Kendrick's Section 80 album and his Good Kid, Mad City. Those are the two albums that really helped me grow up. Like, they were with me during my time, my maturation phase of life. So those two albums meant a great deal with me. I was in college with those albums. Kendrick Lamar is obviously going to be one of my favorite rappers of all time. So I'm letting you know that I do have somewhat of a bias towards Kendrick, but I'm going to be objective as much as possible as well. Because a lot of What's the Dirt said in his video rubbed me the wrong fucking way. So let's start out with a few things. What's the Dirt had a couple of points that were kind of very awkward. And what I mean by that is I feel like he is he's trying to be objective, but he's coming across very biased and subjective. And it's in his tone, it's in his delivery, like, oh, Kendrick was jealous of Drake. Oh, this is proof that he was jealous because he mentioned this in a song that was 12 years old. And back in 2012 or 2013 or 2009 or whatever song he was referring to. Dude, are you, like, I have to try to be respectful to people, but dude, rap is something, I don't think Kendrick ever was jealous of Drake. I think those lyrics can be perceived as him simply just trying to initiate himself into the rap game because he knows that Drake is a bigger artist than him. So he knows, in his mind, he thinks he's the best. Like most rappers do. Most rappers, especially the best rappers in the game, any decade, any generation, or any sport, or any genre. You can go back to the greats such as Michael, and Janet, and Prince, and Madonna. they always thought they were the best. They always had that conceited, ego-driven competition, Latin thing about themselves. Because at the end of the day, you are out to be number one. And that doesn't mean that Drake or Kendrick had any hate for Drake during that time. Even in Control, he said, I got love for your niggas. I got love for y'all, but I'm trying to murder y'all niggas. Make sure none of your core audience heard of y'all niggas. Like, come on, dude. That's not jealousy. That's him trying to put a pulse on the game. Control verse was him basically trying to bring to life rap and the sport of rap, the essence of rap. That was all Control verse was. He wasn't trying to get attention off Control. That nigga had one of the greatest albums of that decade with Good Kid, Mad City. Just a year ago he released that shit. And you're trying to tell me he's trying to get attention? Kendrick, what, he won Rapper of the Year that same year too? And then Drake's little envious, real jealous ass was like, oh, Kendrick's he's got to show and prove. He's got to make another classic album. That nigga made To Pimp a Butterfly like a couple years later after Drake said that shit, which is regarded as one of the greatest albums of all time, not just in the rap genre. To infuse jazz and funk and show his versatility, his artistry, to that level, Drake could never do that shit. That's why Drake is hating and envious of Kendrick, because Drake thinks because he brought him on his tour. By the way, what's the fucking dirt? Kendrick had been co-signed by Dre, by Snoop, by the West Coast, went on tour like you said in your video. Obviously it was like a small venue, 2,000, 3,000, whatever the case is. Drake obviously took him on a bigger tour. Now, getting to that shit, let me try to talk some sense into you. What's the dirt? Because obviously, you don't understand how this shit works. Taking somebody on tour, Kendrick doesn't owe Drake shit. A$AP Rocky doesn't owe Drake shit. They were already on the come up. Section 80 was already produced by Pharrell. Part of that album was produced by Pharrell. Pharrell's one of the biggest producers in the music industry. He was already co-signed by Dr. Dre, the biggest producer ever. You fucking think Drake, nigga, is gonna fucking bring Kendrick? Like Drake was he was the solution. He was the missing ingredient. He was the one that put Kendrick on. Like if it wasn't for Drake, Kendrick would have never got big. He had the worst. Let me tell you this. Drake had the worst verse on Poetic Justice. He had the worst verse on Fucking Problems with A$AP Rocky, Kendrick, and 2 Chainz. He had the worst verse on both songs. How the fuck is Kendrick, or how the fuck is Drake putting Kendrick on? Poetic Justice is not even the best song on Good Kid, Mad City. It's one of the worst songs on that album. It is bottom tier of the album. To be honest with you, you could take that whole song off. Good Kid, Mad City will still be a classic. Let me read y'all some accolades that have nothing to do with Kendrick wanting fucking attention. First of all, Good Kid, Mad City debuted 2013. Never left the fucking charts. Let's be for real. Never left the fucking charts. Damn. Never left the fucking charts. Still on the charts, still on Billboard. 2017. Never left. Dude won a Pulitzer. Dude has three. Damn is one of the, if you look at Drake albums and Kendrick albums, Damn outsold all of it. Damn is one of the most commercially successful albums Kendrick had, but it's also another classic album Kendrick has. Kendrick is the album guy. Drake is the hits guy. Drake is the in the moment guy, the party guy, the pacifist guy. Kendrick is the I'm gonna make you fucking think. Every one of my albums is gonna sound different. Every one of my albums is gonna hit different. Every one of my albums is gonna be a different narrative. Kendrick is literally Nas. Kendrick and Drake, I'm not even gonna compare him to Jay-Z because that's disrespectful to Jay-Z. But if you want to, that would be your comparison. But here's my point. Kendrick is not jealous of fucking Drake. What's the dirt? Matt. He's not jealous of fucking Drake. I'm sorry for all this cussing. That's just how I speak, but I gotta get better at it. You know, but it's not, he's not jealous, bro. And that's one of the things that pissed me off because it's like, dude, your narratives aren't any good. You could tell you're biased. Drake, let me say this. Kendrick needed Drake to help with the business side, the industry side of things. Drake was like introducing Kendrick to the industry. And at the end of the day, Kendrick, who has been pretty much anti-industry, I mean, he's referenced Lucy throughout all his fucking albums almost. Lucy is basically Lucian of UMG, or the devil, whatever you want to call it. He clearly doesn't like the industry. And Buried Alive, and he saw how Drake moved. He probably saw that Drake was nothing but an industry plant from the very get-go. And that's one reason why I think he stopped fucking with Drake. And people need to get this out of this whole I hate or Kendrick's been jealous and this and that and forth. Sometimes people just don't fuck with people. They grow apart, they expand, they grow. If you listen to Kendrick throughout his whole catalog, you see growth. If you listen to Drake throughout his whole catalog, you see regression. This dude, when Drake came into the industry, this nigga was soft. Everyone thought he was soft. He was a tuna bagel sandwich, disrespecting his mom. And then you have the nerve to try to make this nigga out like he came from, like he's in comparison to Kendrick, because he tried to call Kendrick nerdy and tried to call Kendrick soft. Well, guess what? Kendrick came from that. Nobody says Jay-Z soft because he grew up in Marcy's projects. Kendrick comes from Compton, my nigga. West Side Piru. He grew up in Section 80 housing. He grew up in the projects. That van you see on Good Kid, Mad City, at one point in his life, he was living out of that shit. What kind of sandwiches he said he had? I'm thinking of Long Beach Griffin when he said, I got some honey sandwiches. I used to make honey sandwiches. No bread and no honey. Basically, you had no food. He comes from that, bro. Do you realize how dangerous Compton was in the 90s? In the late 80s? Compton was Compton's like what Chicago is if you plant it in the 90s. Compton was no fucking joke. It's gotten better. It's gotten different. It's changed throughout the years. Compton used to be a lot of things throughout the decades. So it's changed a little bit. But that's besides the point. Kendrick comes from that shit. Drake doesn't. So when I hear him, oh, Lil Wayne, you make me feel so good. Drake was always the zesty, soft nigga from 2009. Drake didn't change perception-wise until, let's say, the Meek Mill's beef, where, like 90% of his demographic, which is still to this day pretty much the same, was nothing but teenage girls or women. Women that want vibes, women that want to chill out to some just R&B, melodic music. When Kendrick said, I like Drake with the melodies, I don't like Drake when he act tough. Melody Drake is real Drake, soft. The singing nigga, you got bodied by a singing nigga. That's the Melody Drake, that's the real Drake, the one that wants the tuna bagel. Gets mad at not having the tuna bagel. He gets angry at his mom. That's the real Drake, the soft Drake, the zesty Drake. Not the tough Drake, not the 38-year-old acting like he lived in the streets or he's from the streets. That's not really Drake. That is Drake is an actor. So all this to say, Kendrick comes from that. Drake doesn't come from that. So when you over here breaking down, well, Drake rebuttals this because Drake said basically he's soft and he didn't really grow up like that. He's an affiliate, bro. Kendrick doesn't have to bang a set. He's an affiliate. Them niggas gonna vouch for him. Them niggas gonna ride for him no matter what. He's from that neighborhood. He's from that hood. It doesn't matter. And that's one thing that Drake got fucked up. That's why the Pop Out concert was the biggest rebuttal of the entire Family Matters diss towards Drake. Kendrick, he fucking rebutted that whole fucking thing with that one song. Just think about that. He had all them goons on that stage, all them Bloods, all them Crips, all them gangsters, all them dudes from his hood or from around his hood. Kendrick is deep, bro. Just like what Snoop said. And you should have added that to the damn video. Snoop said, it might not appear like it, but he got like 100 goons with him. Kendrick not playing, bro. See, Drake don't understand that because Drake, he goes off his business buying protection because he doesn't know what loyalty is, what trust is. He never had that his entire life. And here's another thing I really, really disliked about What's the Dirt's video. Dude. Doesn't mean Whitney doesn't appear or makes very, first of all, Whitney's very private. It's like, for one, you say on the 616 video that there's different parenting styles, there's different ways to raise kids, or it might have been Euphoria, whatever the case is. Whitney is not, she doesn't have to be expressive. There's some people I know on social media that you would never know whether they're happy or sad or whatever the case, and that's not none of your goddamn business. It's just like when you said that, oh, Kendrick lied on the radio interview. You fucking think, What's the Dirt? Think about this shit, bro. Comprehend. Your comprehension skills have gone down with Family Matters. Maybe because you're trying to look at Drake's perspective a little bit too hard because Drake's a dumbass himself. So you think most celebrities, if you ask them, how's your relationship? How's this, that, and the fourth? Most of the time they're gonna lie to you because 90% of the time they're gonna lie to you because that shit is private. That's just too personal. So they're gonna be like, yeah, it's good, it's this, that, and the fourth. Because obviously they're not gonna be like, oh yeah, I cheated on that bitch. Oh yeah, I fucked that. Oh yeah, I fucked that bitch. You think they're gonna fucking say that, you idiot? You think Kendrick's gonna go on radio and embarrass his fucking wife in a public platform? Are you fucking dumb? Think about that shit. Think about that shit for a minute. Are you fucking stupid? Sorry, this is how I talk. I try to be the bigger person, and I try to talk to people and give them, integrity or whatever the case is. But you realize that, right? Do you think he gonna go? Do you think Drake would do that? First of all, Drake lied to LeBron James about the whole Vaughn thing and Mob Ties, right on national TV. You ain't gonna say shit about that though. But you think Kendrick is gonna just air out his dirty laundry, something that's very personal to him, something that's very private to him, on fucking Sway in the morning? Come on, dude. And then you're gonna call him a liar? There is people that are so private. I think, I hate to use Janet as an example. Janet Jackson, she married a billionaire, right? I think Janet, at one point in time, was married to a billionaire. She made it, I think she was getting interviewed saying how, oh, her relationship's good and all this other shit. Turns out that dude was abusive as shit. She had a secret relationship with El DeBarge. Ain't nobody fucking knew about it. And he was abusive. It comes to find out. He had a drug problem, he had this, that, and the third. People are not entitled to share their personal life with the media. Of course he lied. Let me use another example. And this is a Game of Thrones example. When Robb Stark and they had a victory at the mill, the Battle of the Mill, something mill, whatever the case is, and his uncle had it fucked up and did something stupid. I forget his uncle's name. It'll come to me, may not, whatever. He praised his uncle in front of his troops. The moment his troops left, he scolded the shit out of his uncle, basically calling him a dumbass. Because what he did was stupid. And he let the main guy that he was trying to capture get away, and then he decided to protect a mill instead of getting the main target so that they could help win the war. But he did something in public versus doing something in private. That's how kings move. You really fucking think Kendrick is gonna fucking bash his wife or bash himself in front of people? That's why he made Mr. Morales and the Big Steppers, boy. That's why it took him so long to go through therapy and do what he did. Ask yourself how hard it is to write an album, similar to how Beyonce fucking clowned Jay-Z on Lemonade. But it still was probably really hard for Beyonce to air out all that laundry, even though I'm not sure how much of that shit was really written by Beyonce, if you want me to be honest. Some of it might have been fabricated, some of it might have been real, who knows? But regardless, you think it was easy for Beyonce to write that shit about her marital and her marriage and her infidelity in regards to her husband? You think it was easy for that? What's the dirt? You see what I'm saying? So when you attack Whitney and you try to make Whitney out to be some type of victim, bro, we all know Drake lied about that shit. He tried to find dirt on Kendrick, he didn't find it. He paid money in the streets. He did the same shit he did with Pusha T. It's that simple. That simple, bro. All right, that's pretty much my stream. But tell me what you think. Make sure you like and subscribe. And I'm just gonna be honest, I just felt really, really weird about that. And there was another thing about the video I didn't like. The whole Nipsey and comparing Kendrick to Nipsey. Nipsey's dead. Nipsey was too visible in his community. There's ways to go about building businesses the right way or the wrong way. I'm not saying that's Nipsey's fault, but to try to shrink or belittle Kendrick because he moved a certain way versus Nipsey, bro, that's just plainly disrespectful. And Drake didn't have a right to say that about Kendrick, and you don't have a right to say that about Kendrick, because we all know that Drake don't plant money trees in Toronto. This nigga has a sweatshop in Toronto. Let's keep it a buck, my boy.